Hi, everyone at home. Hi, everybody. I'm Kara Lovehart. So I'm the owner here at Firefly Hollow. You guys, I have not met you before. Have you guys been here before? Welcome, welcome, welcome. So this is our 11th annual open house. So we're very happy to be here, very happy for you guys to be here. And I wanted to bring this topic up that we're going to talk about today, which is healing loneliness in modern times. So I think this is one thing that for years our history of Firefly Hollow has been about community. So this property has been in my family for 5 generations. And we actually come from a brethren farmers folks, so we have lots of family members. And right here in this very space, in this very property, every weekend, it was gathering of people, gathering to eat together, to celebrate, to sing hymns, and just connect. And so it's kind of in my blood to connect in that way. And when I started the center and the clinic, I found one of the first things I noticed is that individuals who are embarking on their own health journey, maybe in the holistic realm, sometimes felt ostracized from their family or their community. Or maybe it even had people that were in their family that were teasing them that they were using essential oils for their cough instead of cough medicine or something. And so there was this need for people to find other like-minded folks while they're starting a new type of philosophy or learning more about themselves or even diving into the spiritual aspect of their own nature, especially if they come from a background that had maybe a philosophy or a religious institution that maybe judged what they were embarking on their own self-directed journey. So for my years being a business owner, again, bringing people together has been the biggest passion of mine. So I'm kind of curious if you were looking for one thing in a community, one thing, just think about this. And I'll ask you if you want to share at the end here. One thing, if you're entering into a new community, what is one thing or one word that you would be looking for? What is that thing? Just think about it. Think about it. So statistics on the epidemic of loneliness. Has anyone heard this term, people saying, we have an epidemic of loneliness? So I've heard this on the news, and I started hearing it over COVID. Obviously, this separation, we were pulled from this sense of being able to connect with people. And then I'm a massage therapist too, so just that physical touch or hugs, like it's really detrimental to our nervous system as human beings. Babies will not survive if they're not touched. And our nervous system helps regulate trauma or the stress response from physical closeness, unless you're someone that maybe is highly sensitive or on the spectrum and you like a lot of stimulation, and some people are that way. But for the most part, our nervous systems need connection, eye contact, someone there to support us, nurture us, to understand us, to not judge us, for our nervous systems to help relax. And when we have stress, being in this mind-body health field, that is a huge indicator of other issues that can start in your health, like sleep issues, immune system issues, muscle tension, pain, the physical body. So stress is it's like the silent killer, it creates all these imbalances in our lives. So the adults in the United States, currently 47% report feeling lonely. So I'm curious if you guys would estimate that would be, would you think it would be higher or around that amount? Because we don't really know. Like if you ask them, are you lonely? The grocery store, are you lonely too? I'm lonely. In a 2023 study, it showed 36% of all Americans, including 61% of young adults, feel serious loneliness. Now, I think we can postulate why, and I'll share a little bit, but I'm curious, why do you think the young people are feeling more lonely? 61% of adults. Yeah. Yep. Yes, yeah. The age of Aquarius, the age of technology, the age of separation and from a physical sense. My son has been, he went to a Waldorf school, and then he was cyber schooled for a couple years, and then he went back to public school. And we went to the high school to walk around and tour, and I was watching these 6 girls sit in a circle on their cell phones, and they were texting each other back and forth. They weren't looking at each other. And my son went to school, and he's like, I'm one of the only people that doesn't have my phone out. like at lunchtime. Like it is a source of your sense of security of your phone. Oh wait, I don't know what to say if someone look at my phone. Like that's your social crutch when you have anxiety. And so I think that is absolutely one of the reasons. So loneliness can be called an epidemic comparable to the effects of smoking 15 cigarettes a day in terms of long-term health effects. So that's interesting. Like, we talked about it. Loneliness can cause all these other health issues. And so, I mean, if you're not having that connection and you're smoking too, like, can you imagine that's even higher? So the statistics, they talk about this surge in loneliness began building in the early 2000s with increasing social isolation due to technology, changing family structures. So there's a lot higher incidence of divorce rates and the decline of community engagement. So people aren't going to church as much. They don't have community activities. There's even a decline in children getting put into sports because the families don't have enough time to drive them. There's not a lot of soccer moms or dads. I mean, there are, but I have every parent I talk to that has either one or multiple children, and then it's the sports season. They don't have a life, and they're stressed. They're like, this is not even like sanity. How can you do this? There's a lot more families are electing to not do sports. So there's a lot of factors here. Is it expected to get better or worse? What do you think? Yep. Experts predict the loneliness epidemic will worsen without intentional shifts towards community building and human connections, especially with the rise of remote work, technology, and fragmented social networks. Because, like, years ago, I had most of my family, we could connect on Facebook, but now people are like, well, I'm on Telegram, or I'm on Signal, or I'm on this, I'm not on Facebook. Or people don't even text anymore. So that's something that we noticed too. So some of the reasons why people are feeling isolated, the social and cultural factors. So our culture is very individualistic in the West. I went to visit Oahu in Hawaii, and over the pandemic, and they have a lot of Asian culture embedded into that particular culture, and of course the Native Hawaiian people, and they're very communal. We do this together. You know, you are a unit instead of an individual person that has choices. When you make choices in a culture like that, you make them for your family, for the group, and you consider that. So we have just a completely different cultural paradigm. Social media absolutely creates these superficial connections. I think that all of us could say, maybe, if we're on social media, that we have been a victim of comparing ourselves to other people's highlight reels. So that's something that for years, sometimes I'm like, can I just show a video of me crying? Or like, something like, here's what my bathroom looks like before I clean it. Like, isn't it disgusting? Does yours look like this too? Instead of like the pristine, like your house looks amazing and you're always wearing makeup or you have filters or whatever. The increase in body dysmorphia and eating disorders as well with the younger generation has increased because of the social media impact too. So that's just a side note. I think another thing is people have a lot of busyness in their life. They're working more hours, and there's not a lot of time then afterwards for maybe getting your self-care and your chores, but then going and doing something that's involving community. The other thing that we see is individuals that might have social anxiety or who have had some sort of hurt in a group. And part of my journey was actually being that. Being in the Brethren community, so my family, very much conservative in their nature, and when my mother was divorced in the 90s, she was ostracized from the church. So it was the first sort of experience of we can still go to family gatherings, okay, but there was this sense of you're not welcome here. There's a church for the divorced people. Go there. And so that happens a lot. It may not be necessarily a religious organization, but it might be, hey, you are different political beliefs now, you can't be on our bowling team. And like that kind of stuff, because of separation, because of fear as humanity, we've gotten to the space of fear. We create these sort of like social pushing people out, or these type of isolating behaviors that we do as a group. And I know many people who have come to our community gatherings, classes and workshops have expressed that those are the things that they've experienced. And I even talked to one of our neighbors. She is a Jehovah's Witness. And I asked her about her journey. I love learning about what people get involved in their particular church or their journey. And she said, well, when I was in confirmation, when I was 16, I asked them, the church owner, or asked them to church minister about questions about God. And he couldn't answer them, and he said, well, these people, you shouldn't ask these questions. And she kept asking questions, and then she got ignored. And then she went through a depression, and her people in her community, her team, didn't reach out to her. And she didn't reach out because she was in a mental health particular, 16 years old, and you feel like a sense of, like, maybe like an existential crisis of God. And she didn't have the support from her community or her family. So the Jehovah's Witness group, those wonderful people, they come and they brought her into the space, and they like completely held her. And that's a different background or religious belief than I hold, but it shows you that when you do find a group that actually holds space for you and that you feel safe in, it really creates a space for healing, and then you can really find your sense of who you are and express it. So it was a beautiful conversation with her. I loved learning about her journey. So when it comes to our physical body, so much of my work over the last 15 years has been working with not just the physical body as a massage therapist. I am a medium, so I'm also a body medium, that's what I call myself. So I work with the intuitive aspect of our nature, so our energy system, and I incorporate in that a modality, not just Reiki or energy healing work, but I work with a modality called color puncture. So that's acupuncture without needles. So a lot of that system is working with understanding the nervous system and the trauma response or the stress response. And a lot of the treatments that we get are working with balancing the brain. And the more I learned, because I was always curious when we'd have groups that would come in for workshops and people would connect, and then you see some people that wanted to connect. And you could tell there was an apprehension, even apprehensions of coming to Firefly Hollow. So if you're at home watching, Emily back here can say, one of our assistant office managers, how many times have people said, I've been stalking you on Facebook or your website. I've been wanting to come here, but I didn't want to come because I don't know what to expect, or I was worried that people would judge me. We've heard that so many times, and then people finally come in, we're like, we're so glad you're here. So to me, it was understanding the nervous system and the stress response. It was very clear to me that we all have apprehensions about going into a new space or a new group. So if someone comes to one of our yoga classes with a friend, or maybe they have wellness party where we go in and we talk about Reiki or whatever we do, it helps break the ice in a familiar area and environment that then people are like, okay, this is cool. These people are safe and trustworthy. But we've noticed that this cultural maybe hurt that we've had in social groups or isolation contributes to the perpetuation of that isolation. So when we learn, and most of my education for massage therapists now, as well as the general public, is how can we understand our own stress response so that when we are in that kind of mode, we can learn and say, oh, I'm actually in fight, flight, fawn, or freeze. And when I'm in that state, I'm not necessarily going to be thinking clearly. Like if you get in a fight with your spouse or your children, or you get any sort of triggered, you're not always thinking clearly. And that part of the brain, that is our survival brain, is going to be more activated. And we're less likely going to either show up in a way that's contributing, show up in a way that feels safe, and we might be guarded and say, I don't want to be involved in that. Raise your hand if over the pandemic, you were very easily triggered by news, by scrolling through social media, by people in your life, people you worked with. There was a lot of that going on because so much differences in beliefs, so much differences in what was going on, and the fear. So our nervous systems were already keyed up. Our survival instincts were, oh my gosh, what do I do? And no matter where people ran on their philosophy about what was actually happening, about vaccines, about masking, there was so much differences in polarization with that. Even if someone had like multiple PhDs, it has no, even to this day, I've worked with people who have, I have a PhD, I went to this Ivy League school, whatever. That has no foundation and does not matter when you're activated in trauma response, because then that higher part of the brain cannot think. And you're less likely to be more likely to either get codependent on a group and have somebody, or go into a group that may not even be healthy. This is where we see cults or misuse of power, people giving away their power to a group or some people that will help them feel safe temporarily. We give away that, and then we're going, what is that person doing? They're involved in some weird, thing. And especially in alternative practices like holistic medicine, we do see some of this more fringe-based services and things that we do here that we've seen in the world, even on Instagram and social media, weird predatory behavior that people show up in your inbox. Hey, I'm a psychic medium. I want to give you a free reading. Like weird stuff. And it's because people are preying off of our trauma response, are not feeling safe. So in general, I think because of the state of the world, because of how we are as animals, we actually are animals, when we get in that space, it's harder for us to feel safe. And in how our body best needs to heal is through connection, through being in a space where we feel seen and heard and understood and supported in a non-judgmental way. So part of my passion was how do we hold spaces that are safer for people, no matter what their background is. Part of that looks like asking you guys, are you comfortable with the room temperature right now? You know, if you're overstimulated any time, the light's me talking, you need to get up to the bathroom, you have sovereignty, you have freedom of choice to go. You don't have to stay here if you don't want to talk. I'm not going to take people, I might take it personally. But that's the freedom of choice when you go into a space. Whoever is leading or facilitating that space, if they're asking questions, they are wanting to connect with you, who you are, and uniquely what your needs are. That's a really good green flag in my book of like that person, that space, really wants to hold a container for connection. Let's see here. Trustworthiness and transparency. So, for example, we hold a monthly gathering of women. And women, we have a history of being catty and, I don't know, just women are less trustworthy, I think, of each other. And more like, I don't know if I want to go to that Daughters of the Hollow group. I don't know, is it click? What do they do? So what we've done for transparency is shown what it looks like. This is what we do. This is, you know, and in that way, we are helping the nervous system to just relax a little bit. This is what it looks like. These are the people. There's some faces of people that have been, oh, they're not so bad. They don't need to. And it helps people to feel safe going to a place. I still to this day have a challenge if I go to maybe a new yoga class or anything. If I haven't seen maybe video or picture of the people that are there that I might see, it's a little bit more challenging for me, even though I know that it's just about going, checking it out, and seeing how it is. But because of my own nervous system being human, being an animal, I have to learn to regulate and learn to maybe check a little bit more, but go maybe break the ice, maybe go with a friend or something like that if it's something I'm not privy to and it's new for me. If you are going into a space that I believe is safe, there's a adequate peer support. So people are there in different roles and they're able to show up if you ask for support or, you know, sharing a little bit maybe what you might need. The last two things for a trauma-informed safe space that we really have as foundational in our values here is collaboration. We're not about competition as a business. We're about collaboration with as many businesses as we can that align in whatever way that we can support. Because the more resources that we have, the more therapists, the more the local food vendors, the local fitness studios that we have that we can, well, this isn't a good fit. I can tell this personality and this personality, they're just not the best fit from this client to this practitioner, but you know what? I know someone down the street that does the exact same thing that I think you would really resonate with them. So I think that sense of collaboration does create this space of safety and trust. It's like, I can go there. They're not just going to try to be like, you need to come take my yoga class in this program because we need to make all this money. It's not about that. It's about, like, this is safe. This is what we want. Everyone's individual. We want what's best for you. And we collaborate with you based on what you're sharing and the partners that we've connected with. And I have to say, as a business owner, the first 8 years of doing business as a holistic provider had been so challenging because I had a really hard time finding people that were not wanting to be competitive. Or, I mean, it's true. If you run maybe a computer software company, there is the reality of competition in the market. And that's true. But there's also a reality in the service industry that it's about the person. You could go to a massage therapist that's a great skill set, but maybe you could find someone else with a great skill set too, but you like their personality better. It's always about the individual. So when you're not really working with a product, you're working with the individual, we have a little bit of a different way of how we operate. And then the final thing that we hold near and dear to our heart is empowerment. So whatever that looks like for you. You know, meeting you where you're at. Maybe you come here and you want to work with your diet, and you're like, I need to see someone. We have a holistic nurse and we have nutritionists. Cool. It's somebody's like, I don't want to look at that. That's not even, I'm not even interested. I want to just really work on my physical body, and I want to work with my pain. I need to get massage or acupuncture or chiropractic care. That's what I'm looking to do. So collaboration and, empowerment is something that is like my life journey, and empowerment looks different for everybody. And it's really about a matter of helping a person align with what helps them feel safe and what helps them feel that they can be authentically themselves without having to mask or cover up. Now, authenticity still has etiquette and showing up in a way. I have many different masks that I show up in with my son versus sort of professionally, but it's all the same Kara. It's still authentic, but it shows up in a different format that's still etiquette and proper for interacting with you. Because if I started telling you my personal, intimate life right now with my, things in my history, you'd probably get uncomfortable. You'd be like, I don't know. Maybe you wouldn't be, really, let's talk about it. But not everybody is like that. So I think oversharing and going into that space with people, in a space like this, we have a lot of open-hearted people that come into holistic care. They want to share, they want to connect. And I've noticed and been in different spaces where I've gone up into a space similar to maybe a clinic like this, and someone wants to come and hug me, and I don't even know them. I want to come hug you. I'm like, I don't know who you are. I don't feel comfortable. And in the culture of holistic and love and light or spiritual-based type of modalities, we kind of blend all this stuff because we have science-based practitioners and we have more of the holistic spiritual aspect of services here. And you do see some people that's just their nature. They are open. They don't care who you are. They want to hug you, and that's beautiful. But if that's not who you are and that doesn't feel safe to you, I've learned that I think it's always about consent. Like, would it be okay if I shake your hand? Are you okay with a hug? Would you like a hug? Do you want to come to this thing, or you're not interested at all? Instead of, you should come to my thing, and really telling people, this is what you need. I think that's something that takes away people's power. Because empowerment is about helping people find out what they need and empowering people from an individualistic standpoint so they know their best answers, and you're working in collaboration and partnership with them. All right, so I want to list a couple of different roles that we play in community. So there are healthy roles that we can see in a community and that we can show up as. We might show up as multiple different types of roles, but I give these examples because sometimes when maybe we're looking for a new community and say, well, maybe in my old community, I was always the person that organized things, or I was always the supporter, the nurturer. When someone was going through something, they always came to me. I was that role in my friend group or even in my church, wherever your community is. Understanding the different common roles, what they do, and maybe where you fit in or what kind of role you actually want to do at this time can help you when you're entering into a new space or a community and say, you know what, I think that's how I like to show up in a community. Because a good community, yes, has a good leadership. Good leadership, good boundaries for the container. That's really important. But if there's no other roles, then there's no importance. The leader doesn't have any purpose because there's no other people showing up and contributing in a way that's balanced to the community. So I'm going to read these different roles. So the first one is the connector. So think about this one. The connector brings people together, helps forge new relationships within the group, and it's someone who introduces people to others. This is really big for when I go places because I don't always like to break the ice and be like, hi, I'm Kara, nice to meet you. It's very awkward. If I have someone in the group that I'm going with a friend that knows the group, or someone at that group is like, hey, you should meet Julie. Yeah, I was like, you should meet Julie. Meet Julie. And, that helps, And can you appreciate when you've been to a place that someone does that? It immediately is like the person that opens the door. And for Firefly, we hope every time we do an open house, if we're not really super busy, we have someone at the front. So you come in, and you see little Vicky sitting behind the desk, and you can't see her right away, and you're like, I don't know what's going on. Part of our goal is I want everyone to feel home. They feel home coming here. And so, because this has been, my family home, so I want it to feel that way. And by introducing and helping break the ice, let me show you around, that connector person is very valuable in the group. The next one is the listener. This is the person who provides emotional support by actively listening to others' concerns and offering a non-judgmental space. I know a lot of people in my life who have been this for me, and I'm not that person. I'm the talker. So a person in the community who checks in with others, maybe the person that texts you, how are you? I remember that last week you weren't doing so well, or you were struggling with whatever was going on, you had a cold. They check in, and they help you feel nurtured and supported just by approaching you or being approachable and being able to be listened. The organizer keeps things structured, plans events, ensures the community has regular activities to engage in, and it's someone who takes the lead in organizing gatherings, maybe scheduling workshops or planning group meetups. That's me. I also know a lot of organizers and every role has its different challenges within the group, right? The organizer, sometimes it's like, well, that person didn't show up or didn't RSVP. If anyone's ever done a birthday party, you ever scheduled a birthday party or planned a surprise birthday party, and then you're like, okay, I gotta make sure that the cake is here. Did they RSVP? They didn't come on time. Like there's the stressors of that person's role, and there's always lessons of that person's role in the group. The challenges and the blessings that they carry. So every role, even the listener is like, okay, this is my role. I'm really good at it. I'm really getting tired of listening now, and I want to go home. Okay? So every role has an opportunity within community for us to learn from each other, to grow in our virtues, to grow in who we are as people. And what I find interesting is since we've become so isolated, when we are then with people or even just seeing things on social media, we're so much more easily triggered because we don't live in a communal environment. We don't live in a space that we're like, hey, I'm used to getting triggered or my impatience because of this person, because my role is this, and this is part of my lessons as a human being to grow patience, to grow compassion, to grow forgiveness, or whatever the thing you're learning is your role. The next role is the motivator. It encourages others, offers positive reinforcement, helps others stay committed to their personal growth or community goals. The nurturer provides care and creates warmth, so that mama or that papa that has the candles going when you come over, they have dinner, they have snacks, welcoming atmosphere, someone who offers practical help like bringing food or helping with logistics. We're just making sure everyone feels seen and valued. Is that you? Yeah? And then the teacher shares knowledge, skills, or wisdoms to help other people grow and understand more about themselves and the world. That's my partner, Matt. He's a teacher. He's kind of like a priest, minister, architect who's actually enrolled in seminary. So he's the person that he will just inspire and teach. You talk to him, he'll just sit there like he's like a library. There you go. Here's what you got. But he's not necessarily the best person at being the connector and then how do you have to meet this person? No, he'll sit quietly in the corner. But this is another thing in community. We want sometimes someone to be someone they're not. If we don't have a specific role in our community, we're missing something, then there's this inequality or imbalance. That we're missing that person to break the ice, or we're missing the person to keep things organized. And then we'll get frustrated with so-and-so over there who's the teacher, and they don't even organize anything. And why are they doing that? They're not doing it good. But that's not who they are. So again, I think these are always very valuable because when you go into a group, you can say, do they have a teacher? Do they have a networker? Do they have an organizer? And you don't have to have just one of these roles. You can carry multiple. Like I carry 4 of these. So if you have a group or a group of friends that you have that balance between each other, you have a really good solid tribe, and things can really not only better for your growth lessons and for feeling safe in the community, but then it helps the group feel safe. The peacemaker mediates conflicts, promotes harmony, ensures the community feels safe. This is very helpful when someone can see both sides, and then they can help when people are arguing or not seeing eye to eye. And the innovator brings fresh ideas, solutions, and creativity to the community. And I like those people. They went out and they traveled. They're like, I found this really cool new coffee shop, or come over to this thing. They go out and they find new ideas or things that we should try, and then they bring it to their tribe, and they're like, hey, this is something really cool. Do you want to try it? And then the anchor. The anchor provides stability, consistency, always showing up being a reliable presence. I'm looking in the back. And they're a long-standing community member who has steady influence and offers calm during chaotic times. These people, I think, during the pandemic were absolutely priceless. Like, that was their place to shine. Like, you probably had someone in your life that things were going off the wall, you were stressed, and maybe you were that person. And I think that, again, everyone has a different place in which they shine in their role, and we carry multiple different roles. But when we can have a safe space that has the container of the group, not just the leader, but the leader and the group itself has decided together how they want the container to show up, what activities you do, whatever, that creates a space where we can then have really safe connections. And what happens when we have safe connections? We can feel heard, seen, offer support to have balance in our nervous systems for health, and be able to show up and maybe learn more about how we can express ourselves as individuals without our maybe programs of what we think we need to be in our culture or in our family, or how we need to show up. We need to have this much money, we need to have this particular job, or whatever it is that we compare ourselves, that creates more stress and more issues in our bodies because of that. I think that the containers of safety and connection are what helps heal that. And I think when people go on their own healing journey, whatever that looks like, they're doing physical stuff, they're doing spiritual stuff, they're doing meditation, when they do that journey, part of that journey is a hermit journey. You're doing it by yourself. And I've seen people try for years to do it themselves. And that's part of the leg of the journey. But then they start to spin their wheels. And it's not until they then get involved in community that they can get reflecting points to see different parts of themselves, different opportunities to learn patience, compassion, forgiveness, all those things, right? And that's where I see that people still seem to be moved back in this sort of protective mode and not diving into a community. And it's been one of the hardest things for me because I know how much healing it offers. And there's a part of me that wants to have a bullhorn and go out there and be like, you need people! Everyone, you need people! Just get out with the people! And I think people say, well, I've been hurt by people. I'm like, well, hurt people can hurt more people, but then you can also hurt people who've been hurt by people can be healed by people. And this is something that Sarah Johnson, one of the psychotherapists I just did a podcast episode with, she had the beautiful quote. She said that when you've been hurt by people, people can also heal you too. And being around them, having that connection. So I really like people to kind of consider that, because even as a business owner, I do a lot of coaching with holistic business type people, and they're doing solo business, solopreneurship, and they do it by themselves. They don't know how to collaborate. They feel alone. They feel more likely to be in a competitive mindset because they're in this animalistic fight or flight, I have to be better. And instead of leaning into a group or collaborating with other business owners or people that can support them, where they can feel like, oh, I see, this is actually like, it's actually collaborative. I don't have to be this way. And there's nothing I can do to get people out of that space, even if I have the bullhorn. Education is the only thing I've been able to find that can help people. And then, trusting that when people come here in whatever capacity, whether it's for a class or a workshop or our online community that we have, that if it's the right space for them, it's the right space for them. So the final thing I'm going to share is a couple ways that we have provided spaces for people. And I'm really proud of them. I'm really proud of the community members that have come that are so important. They're part of this facility. Like, yeah, we have services, we have classes, but the foundation, I think, is our community. And we have a group that I started years ago called the Conscious Connections Group. And we started just meeting here and then going and doing things like bowling and going out in the town. And then it got to a point where some of these people, when they've been my personal clients, so an ethical thing came up where I was like, I can't lead this group anymore if they're also my clients. So I'm going to have someone else run it. I ended up getting really busy and we put it on hiatus, and then we started it back up again this year. And so we meet every week, and we meet here, and there is we play games, we chat. We did a really cool, we called it a romp around Lancaster, where we did a walking tour. That was really fun. Playing games, walking, hiking, watching movies, but really it's led by the group. What do they want to do? What do they want to experience and learn? And it's something that we encourage people to check out. We're going to be moving it to once a month in November and December for the holidays, but there's an online space for them to connect and see each other throughout the week, and just can create like a private Facebook kind of thing, but that's just that group. And a lot of our members in our online community, we have a space just for the Conscious Curious Explorers Club, but then we have a space for just people who are like, I want to learn more about this astrology thing, or I want to learn more about nutrition and the tips from the nutritional therapist or the holistic nurse. So we have an online space. It's free to join, and all the lives are on there that are information, tips. We have over 200 video recordings, and the free version doesn't have the video recordings, but you can pay $5 a month or $55 for the year, and you can get access to all those. But it's our kind of gift to our community, because over COVID, we weren't able to meet. And of course, we're like, how do you solve this problem? And people are still online more than they were before, and they're less likely to come out. Like we were having like 40 people at our open houses before COVID. Like, it was pretty busy. We have like 20 seats filled in here. And it's different because people are overstimulated still. They're working more. Like, they don't have as much time to go out and do the stuff. And that's why we're doing this. You guys at home watching the recording, we want to still offer that space for connection. So we have our online space. And then our Conscious Curious Explorers Club meets. They meet every Tuesday. And I can share more information about that if you're interested. And then the other thing that we offer is our community parties. So if you're having a hard time connecting with your loved ones and you want to get them together, either in your home or your clinic, we offer wellness parties. And it's a fun way to educate your team, your crew about, astrology or Reiki or acupressure or essential oils, anything that we offer. And if you have 5 friends, you get your service for free. So it's kind of a fun thing, and we'll come and educate, and then maybe everyone gets a chair massage, or everyone gets reflexology, or whatever package you choose. And that's fun for birthday parties, bridal showers, all that stuff. We're doing a public wellness party that she's for everyone to come November 2nd. And it's going to be a Halloween-themed, witchy wellness party. We have a local caterer who is one of our very, very popular caterers. She's the Sweet Botanist. And she has all plant-based stuff. So she's doing charcuterie. She's doing a pumpkin risotto. She's doing caramel apple cupcakes and make-your-own mocktails, the potion-style mocktails for witchy things. And it's like they're color-changing mocktails. So we're doing that, and then everyone gets their own meeting and a chair massage. And then we're doing, we have fog machines and lights. My partner's a musician, so we have all these extra things. So it's going to get a little spooky and smoky in here. We're going to have a dance party. And that's what we're doing November 2nd. So that's an example of kind of the type of things you could have in your own home, or you can do a private one with us. And we also do that with yoga, too. Because I think yoga is a thing that people maybe want to have more health-conscious-based choices and they don't know where to go. We allow everyone to come to every single yoga class for free for their first time. Because it's like, I still have a trauma response going to yoga classes because I've had really poor experiences in yoga studios. And it's nothing for the yoga studios owners. It's just a matter of not necessarily knowing how to facilitate safe space. And this westernized version of yoga where it's about competition. It's like, you got to be really good at this. And then there's a lot of like looking at each other and like, I don't think I belong here. So that is very much a hurdle. And I know there's definitely a lot of great spaces locally. Downtown, the House of Yoga is great. But they don't have that, but it's still something I have to get over. But we make sure that if you want to try any of our classes, just to be like, do I like this? They're all free for the first visit. So, yeah, but other than that, my first question, if anyone would like to share, I asked at the beginning if there was one thing you were looking for in a community, what would it be? And if anyone wants to share, because I'm really curious. Okay, cool. Openness and acceptance. I hear that one a lot. The acceptance, openness. Not judgment, yeah. Acceptance, yeah. Yeah. It's, I think, the opposite of what we see in the world, what we're creating. So, any other? Support, yes. Yeah, and I think support in a way that when sometimes people support, they're like, I know what's best for you. You need to do this. But more so like listening, asking, would you like it? Would you like a tip for that? Would you like support with this? Instead of assuming that you have the answers for that person. That's a big thing that we make sure when we have group chats or whatever, we kind of have this boundary, like we're not here to fix other people. We're here to give people our perspective if they want it and ask for consent. It's a really big thing. But then like I've been to the circles where, let me hug you and I don't know you, and let's just talk about our lives and be open and really openly sharing in a point where I feel really uncomfortable. And then there's this sort of social pressure to do that too, because this is what the group's doing. And it feels like it's just unsafe. It feels unsafe where you feel like you have to be a certain way and you have to be so open. It's not okay to not be open in this way. And then there's a lot of boundary crossing, I think, that creates a lot of lack of safety. Boundaries, for some people, feel scary, especially if you had issues with authority, like, hey, the rules. But if you have safe boundaries that are flexible, but that are there for a container setting, I think it's really healthy. And I think those are things to look for in a community. Do you guys have any questions? Yeah, thank you guys for being here. Any questions?
Just as far as like getting connected with articles,
Yeah, so if you're interested in the Conscious Curious Explorers Club, it's something you can check out. You can come to the group and see if it's a vibe for you. If everyone's very open. And like, it's really interesting. They have a lot of diverse people. I was surprised when people started coming in, and it was kind of like my dream come true because I want to bring in a space of diversity where people are so different in their backgrounds, but then they're all open and nourishing and supportive and like non-judgmental. And that to me is what we need. We need diversity, different perspectives. So, hi, Boca. Hi. So, and actually, both have been to the Conscious Curious Explorers Club. It's a cool group. Yeah, so he was asking about it. And the other thing is, we also offer free phone consultations with our holistic nurse. That if you're like, okay, I got this thing, you have all these different stuff, you have the online community, you have your podcast, what type of resources do you have that would be interesting that based on your journey and what your desire is, my goal, you can ask that and we can help you out too. Yeah. Yeah. What country were you in? Okay. Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely something that I think people don't realize how much it affected them, even if they were living. Yeah. Mhm. I'm going to repeat that back for the recording. So part of the program that we have here called the Mind Body Detox Program, it is foundationally about working with stress response. You could call it trauma, but stress response and all the more research-based techniques and tools. But we're working with helping people understand what their crutches are. Because a crutch it could be shopping, it could be an addictive substance, it could be escapism, and all of it, like you said, is this lack of connection, community, this sense of meeting the other, and we don't have that connection, and then we do usually fill it with something. Sometimes it's work. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, because people are sometimes within that space and they don't have the frame of reference or the self-awareness to acknowledge that they're in a state that they're using a substance or person or codependent relationship with themselves or something that's filling that void of connection and people, community, that they don't want to see it. And that's when they'll get reactive or they'll project onto you and, no, I'm not that way. Because it's really scary to look at that and realize, oh, that is what's going on. Because then you have to take responsibility. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you guys so much for being here. I appreciate it. Yeah. Thanks for watching at home, everybody. Yes, it's on the events page, and so you'll see it for the next 2 weeks. Is it 3 Tuesdays left in this